5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's good, Alex?
Hey, Sena, how you doing?
Good. Just had lunch.
Just had lunch.
Fish
The
and
second
chips.
one. Fish and chips. Introduce you to fish and chips.
You
Which is
introduced
good,
me
right?
to fish and chips. It was great.
Yeah.
Great recommendation.
Thank you.
So I'll definitely be having more of that.
Good.
But then for some reason, the reason actually why we ended up having lunch is Alex doesn't take my protein shake meal seriously.
I did not take a protein shake.
Why?
Seriously. It's not a meal.
It's a meal replacement, right? It counts as a meal when I don't have time to go out.
So one of
and
the things
cook.
that came out of this conversation, Sena doesn't actually cook.
I cook. I just sometimes I prefer to do things a little differently.
So I have no respect for your shakes. I'm sorry.
Welcome to our second session. I am Sena.
I'm Alex.
So obviously over the first session, we introduced kind of what we do.
Yeah.
The stuff that we do on a day-to-day basis. But I just want to move on from that and then go into the more interesting stuff in what we do.
Okay.
More interesting stuff, technical stuff.
What do you want to know?
Okay, so what's remarkable?
All right.
Just on top of your head.
From the top. So one of the key things when we set up Radiant was we figured that you need to have more tech applied to law. And remember, this was 10 years ago where it wasn't such a common opinion as it is now. And the first product that we started building ourselves was Remarkable. So Remarkable is a plugin or like a toolbar in Word. So if you install it, it's like another toolbar appears, and it has, well, our internal version, I think, has something like 95 new features.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So it's basically anything where lawyers just click, 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 which is a lot of what lawyering is about.
Yeah.
For those of you who haven't actually started working in law yet, it's a lot of click, click, bloody click. It tried to get rid of all of those and automate those. So, we say as a rule of thumb, I think it's probably true. I'm interested in your experience that it kind of halves the time it takes to review a contract. Would you believe that?
Definitely. So, for example, I'll take you to track changes specifically.
Yeah.
So you're negotiating with someone from the other side. It's a big deal. They've inserted a whole bunch of stuff, whole bunch of comments and clauses and whatever. Remarkable has a cool feature where I can literally just go no and insert these.
Do you know there's a secret function where you can actually add a sound?
Really?
Yeah.
Like
No.
like an expletive.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Because sometimes you're negotiating with someone who's being very difficult, and then you just want to.
You just get your in a car, get it out. So the no function unwinds and reverses track changes, which I know sounds obvious until you've actually done a contract markup, in which case you realize it's hell on earth, right?
No, it is.
It's kind of showing that we reject. But that's like just one of the features. We license this out as well. We license out a smaller set of the more generic tools, including the no button. And there's a clause database in there now and a whole bunch of things. So we built Remarkable. It's kind of a classic way of we do tech. So we've got a lot of software developers around the world. And Remarkable was written by one called Andre in Ukraine.
Okay.
And he's been working with us since the very beginning of the firm. So way back to 2011. In fact, he was working before that for me, just building this. And it was built on the back of requests.
A request from
people
internally,
like
from staff?
Yeah, people internally. So it's like, oh my God, this is driving me crazy. Is there something we can do here? And Andre is good. He's a really good developer. So often you'd get like a day or two, like a roughed out version of it, and then you just refine it. And so we developed very fast. And so all of the features there came from someone going, this is driving me crazy in real life.
Yeah.
Can we do something about it? So you've enjoyed working with it.
I have. It's made life easier. It's for the most part, it's meant that I have taken less time to do a lot of work.
Yeah,
right?
Well, that's the whole point. That's because we want to get rid of time, right?
Exactly.
We want more time in the past.
Exactly. For me, Remarkable has become something that's taken down the amount of time it takes for me to do stuff.
But more time to think.
More time to think, yeah. So whereas I'll spend hours and hours toiling through Word, and you don't know how difficult Microsoft Word is until you actually have to go through a track change document and make changes on it and reply to comments, deal with formatting issues, all that kind of stuff. For the most part, Remarkable has helped cut down the amount of time it takes for me, especially in negotiations, to deal with that and focus on the substantive stuff.
Yeah.
And not necessarily the cut and paste and
all the
tracking.
fiddly stuff that
Yeah.
modern lawyering actually consists of.
Exactly.
That nonsense. So that's been good. So we license this out. It's called Remarkable X, and that's cool. I like doing that.
So in terms of legal tech, is Remarkable kind of like the only thing to come up with in the 10 years rating, or
Wow, that's a bit judgy, mate. A little bit put on the spot there.
No, you don't have to go over that.
No, we have Flow.
Yeah.
We built that.
Mhm.
So Flow is our matter management system. And we track all the matters in that, and we kind of know what's going on and make sure we're delivering fast. And then we have Joe. So Joe is a data analyst who works with us. It's awesome. And Joe is looking at a lot of the data that comes out of Flow, Joe from Flow, and figuring out what's actually going on. So there's a lot of myths and opinions about contracting, but there's not much data. Mm-hmm. And we are full-time analyzing all of the data, tracking, how it's going on your matters, Sena. Not to judge you, Sena. I want to be very clear on this, but to understand, right? Like how long does it take, and how can we do it faster? And you've seen what it's
continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement, and then we use that for things like the CADA process. We talk about the CADA process. But let's finish with Flow first. So Flow's that, and then for our clients, they get the dashboard, so they can see exactly what's going on, which is great. And it turns out clients don't actually look at dashboards. They like the idea they exist, like national parks, right?
Okay, so just
they don't go to them, but
to bring it back to someone who may not be familiar with Flow. So Flow is a system that we have.
Yeah.
Right? So
it's a web-based browser system.
So I can move matter from certain states where I'm working on it, or it's going back to the client, and the client can actually get a report that shows them
live. They can go on live and see the dashboard. Yeah, exactly what's going on.
How has that helped? How would you feel that's helped the law firm in particular?
Well, I mean, we can be a little bit freeform, but we also need to get it right, and we need to be in control. And you just get to a certain scale, and we're doing, probably hundreds and hundreds of matters a month. So in that context, you really need to know what's going on. So you need a system. But the problem with Radiant is we come with opinions, and we do things differently, right?
Sena comes with his own.
Yeah, it's good. There are a lot of opinions here, and that's good. I like that. So because of that, the vanilla off-the-shelf software that another law firm might find helpful isn't really going to work for us. So that's why we built our own, which has been worth it. I mean, because we can therefore keep updating and tweaking, and we're developing it full time. This guy's Bangladeshi lawyer, Moyo. Not lawyer, developer. Developing it full time to keep adding features and make your life better.
Which is, I think for me, it's brilliant. So outside coming into it, because you always have an understanding in certain context of how legal firms should work, how filing systems should work.
Oh, yeah.
And then you ask yourself, well, why don't we have file, like a room somewhere, maybe underground, in the basement or in the garage.
Should we have one of those?
I don't know. Maybe we should.
I don't think so. We have paper. We don't have any paper.
True, but then that's and for me that's where the fundamental difference comes in.
Yeah.
When you come from an environment where we're storing files, we have a room, couple of square meters dedicated to keeping hard copy physical documents. Chilling somewhere. For the purposes of just chilling. Or I don't know.
It's hopeless.
Database.
Right? Well, it's information dying.
Exactly. And then coming into this kind of environment, everything is tracked online. Everything is automated. Everything is on a system of some sort, which can easily be tracked and traced without any issues. And I think the one everyone spoke about is that we can tweak it however we wish.
And we're releasing every week or so, 2 weeks, new versions of it. You may not notice, but it's constantly
changing. And it's like, oh, hi guys, I've changed this. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, we have a slightly inhumane approach to IT. We just kind of do it anyway, and then good luck. But
here we just keep it moving.
It moves fast. It just changes.
And then how do you feel? So from Remarkable perspective, I think that's kind of the one that I've been impressed by the most. From my perspective, saves a lot of time, as I said earlier. One of the key features that I found, and from when I was a candidate, we had to compare two documents, I literally had to put them side by side. So like, how are these different?
Are you serious? But I had to do that, but I was like at least 20 years, more than 20 years ahead of you.
Probably did your legal training or your.
We had like a ruler,
yeah,
a red pen. We literally underlined the new words, and then
we have highlight. We have highlight.
But no, so, I mean, I can't believe you in this 21st century was like doing it manually.
So how can I do this? Like, okay, this,
all right,
this is different.
All right.
Okay, how does
I'd like to point out the remarkable didn't invent comparison.
Really?
No, that was already there in Word.
I didn't know.
Okay, and that's actually an issue, folks. That is an issue. That's an issue because you know, you laugh about Word, but Word's very powerful. But it's like most people don't even know half the functionality of what it can do.
So here's the thing: before
use styles, kids, and automatic cross references. That's very important.
So I thought I knew Microsoft Word.
Yeah,
I really thought I did. And you know, you even put on your CV and you say Microsoft Word expert. You don't even say
use expert.
Whoa!
We should have tested you.
I mean, with most of these things, right? For the most part, what you get is fill in a form somewhere online when you're job hunting, whatever it is, and it'll say, "What's your Microsoft Word proficiency out of 5?" Okay. I mean, I can type, I can save a document, I can copy paste, I can cut.
You're doing better than the average partner.
And I can find key text. I know what I'm doing. 5 out of 5. Keep it moving. And then obviously you join rating. You're like, okay, do you really know Word? Are you able to cross-reference a clause so that when the person clicks on it automatically, it takes them straight to that section?
Yeah.
That's stuff that's a little thing that you don't think.
No, we should do more of that. But really, we need to get out of Word. Right?
Out of Word.
Yeah. Because like, you know, we talked last episode about contracting problems, trying to fix it. And part of the contracting problem is that we are too document centric. Okay. Right. We're in the business of creating relationships, that's the purpose of a contract. Yeah. But we're stuck in documents, and documents aren't very helpful. They're static. You know, when you're trying to manage against them, do stuff, you know, you can't get your data out easily, and so on. So we need to move to different forms of contract, which might have a kind of a view that looks like a document, but it's also more data centric and structured and so on. Okay. And as part of this, we're going to need new editing environments, right? And I think negotiations, I'm starting to see platforms that do this coming through where you move negotiations to. So that will be happening, but it's going to take a long, long time because lawyers are entrenched in Word. Yeah. It used to be Word Perfect back in the day, now it's Word. And the problem with negotiations, you have to get the other side to change their behavior. Yes. And it's on like every bloody deal, we have to get them to change their behavior, right? So it's like, I mean, it's hard enough getting, you know, people in your own firms to change their behavior, although, you know, we brutalize them so much with like just constantly changing the IT, and everyone's like, all right, well, dazed and confused and accepting. But like getting the other side to change is really hard. And so, although I keep saying, you know, you get past Word, I imagine in 20 years we'll still have Word around. So
your solution is to move into a different platform altogether.
Well, we've tried this. We work with platforms that do it, and it kind of helps, but you know, it's hard to change behaviors, and you have to make it so super simple. You know, like the Google Docs experience, which is so simple that people can easily adopt it. Which turns out simple is hard.
It is. Right? It's not straightforward.
So that'll be a big thing. Another thing you would have seen here is document automation, right? You use Contract Express, you use DocAssemble,
Contract Express. So this is the most interesting thing about Contract Express, particularly, we don't necessarily have to draft each and every single document from scratch. And it's not like we're using a precedent. The client simply fills in certain information and then boom, contract, we have it, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the rule, is we're not meant to be doing it by hand. I hope we're not doing it by hand. We're doing it by hand, son?
I'm not doing it by hand.
Okay, this is good. This is a great relief. You know, there's the theory and then there's the practice. Like, the theory is we don't do it by hand. I think that's actually generally true. And so document automation, which is that initial drafting stage in the contracting process, answer some questions, get a tailored document. Big fans. We have guys in Romania on that case. We have two people, Christian and Bella, in Romania doing the automation. So have you done any of that automation piece yet?
Not yet.
Okay, well, you'll end up doing that. So working with them to figure out which bits switch on and off in the contract, insert stuff, what questions are, what the logic is.
And the brilliant thing is
That's
that it
good.
improves accuracy. And
and
the
speed.
one thing that Alex always said, and he dragged me for this in one of our last meetings, is that a lot of things come down to human error or user error.
Oh, yeah.
You don't know it, but you probably make more mistakes than you think you do.
I do.
In the ordinary course of the day. So the more you eliminate sort of human input or human interface into something, the more accurate it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's keep the human on the human stuff. So let's do the thinking and the, you know, the negotiation, the relationship stuff with humans. But if we can automate it, we often should automate it. And, you know, there's a lot of kind of process thinkers out there. I think it was Deming who had the 95% rule, that basically 95% of errors are created by the system, not the human. You know, if humans are making errors in your process, then there's a problem with the process, a problem with the system, because we have to assume that, you know, error is human. And so, you know, I think we take as an approach that if something goes wrong, and it happens, that, you know, as soon as we kind of picked up pieces and fixed it, that we look at how we could prevent that from happening again. So kind of, you know, what are the guardrails? What are the safety things?
What are the safety measures we have in place?
Right, to protect against that, because we can't rely on, you know, people being perfect.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome. Moving on to our quick hits.
Okay.
Anything interesting that you saw?
Yeah. So the other news story of the day is Deloitte, one of the big four accountants. So there are four, right? Deloitte, EY, KPMG, and PwC. Deloitte, and they've all got into the legal business, has just picked up a UK law firm. It's not a huge one, like 87 lawyers, 86 lawyers, called Kemp Little, boutique that does technology deals and so on. It's a good firm.
Yes.
And it's interesting because, you know, it's another in a long line of stories of the big four turning up in law. Right? So I don't think the law firms are paying enough attention about this. And they can't practice law everywhere, but Deloitte already had something like 2,500 lawyers, which
they had a pretty big legal department.
Yeah, 2,500 lawyers in that team, and PwC I think has like 3,500 biggest one. So the big four have turned up, and we saw this game. I remember this. You won't remember it. It was like back in the day before Enron in the 90s and so on. The big four were getting into it, and at that time it was Big Five, and then one of them blew up after Anderson over Enron. Do you remember Enron? So Enron, that happened early 2000s, kids, and so as part of that, there was a separation between consultants and audits and so on, and the law firm idea all kind of evaporated. But the accountants, one of the stories, the accountants are back, and I think this is pretty cool.
Okay.
Most of our competitors, the small ones, you know, all growing up, have all been bought by either the big four or Elevate, which is another company out there. We're like the last standing of the independents, the original, the OGs. No, because we move faster. We move so much faster. So I'm not worried about that.
In the terms of the legal outsourcing, legal landscape, not the traditional firm environment.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the competition? Or
well, it's interesting, right?
Space for everyone
so there's kind of new law and big law. So big law is traditional firms, and actually Kemp Little, this company before, is a small big law, right? So it's really in that tradition. And then, you know, what the big four are doing, what Radiant does, what Elevate does, what United Lex does, and LPO is called new law. Okay. You know, we talked about no timesheets and company rather than a partnership structure and all these differences. And so this is an example of a new law player, which is actually a bloody big accountant, acquiring a small big law thing to basically become a more all-rounded legal service provider. And so, it's game on.
So they're going to be professionals. So they won't just be an accountant.
That's right. And they've already done that with tax and especially with consulting. So that's already been built out. So and I think, you know, there's a huge advantage if you're a massive provider like that. You have all these incredible relationships often with CEOs and CFOs. So that's great from a sales perspective, but you're also big and ugly. So So I like our small size and focus on one problem. But I think means I get to sleep at night. You can sleep at night.
I can sleep at night
right. But it's an interesting move, and you know, to the South African listeners, obviously we talk a lot about South Africa. You know, this is a pretty traditional world down here, right? The law firms are a long way behind the UK law firms in terms of, even though some of them inquired, like Red Mile Shop.
Still very entrenched in a lot of, South African firms have a lot of culture, right? Still entrenched in a lot of culture and a lot of...
Yeah, they have a lot of books on their library, dark wood and all that nonsense. Yeah, so this is really old school territory in South Africa. And the Big Four isn't really here in the legal concept. Yeah, but it will be. It will
at some point.
Yeah, the regulations are lightening up around the world. Even in America, which is there, it's starting to change there. So it's going to be game on.
Oh, awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, Sena. Thank you. That was all right.
Yeah, it was.